Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, which will attempt to chronicle again my hardships with the court system, my utter shock at the blatant bias that's ingrained in the court system. But today, my second video, I'd like to focus on the beginning, which was the domestic violence portion. And I'll start with this. I printed out a list of kind of general warning signs of domestic violence here that I can reference. But before I read those and comment on them, I want to say this. I told you in the first video that I put up with domestic violence for 2+ years. Well, I misspoke. It was about 4 years. My son is going to be 3 in May, and I knew her for almost a year before he was conceived. So I used to think in the past, when the subject just came up in general conversation about women stuck in a domestic violence situation, I thought to myself, well, they're stupid. What the hell is wrong with those women? I mean, if they're in such pain, if they're in horror, if they hate their life, if they hate their spouse, if they hate their significant other, why the hell do they stay? I have no sympathy. Get out. Go. And this is where it takes a turn. I was a victim, but I didn't know I was. I had no clue I was. It was the last thing on my mind. I can say now I experienced it for my entire relationship. It's easy to look back and say, yes, that's what it was and that's what I experienced. But at the time, when you're in it, you don't even know. Let me fast forward to when my son got injured. He was injured on his birthday, May 24th, 2014. But I did not report it until May 29th, 2014. In those 4.5 days, I cannot convey to you the emotional anguish that I was in. And that I was experiencing, asking myself, with the devil on one side and the angel on the other, should I or should I not report this? And as I said before, I don't care what I would endure. I would get through it. But when my son was injured, and especially that she didn't care, that first and foremost on her mind was to continue the arguing, continue the domination. I see that now. I couldn't see it then. I see it now. but I have a new perspective on domestic violence in general. In our culture, especially in the North American culture, United States, it is assumed 9 times out of 10 it's the woman who is the victim. But I can tell you this: when I reported the crime, I went to the court clerk's office, the sheriff's office, and I said I need to report domestic violence, and they assumed I was the aggressor. That wasn't true. Cultural bias. I asked to speak to a deputy to report the events. I had to wait. He was a ways out of town. When he showed up, very professional, I gotta tell you. But when I started speaking and said I was there because of domestic violence, he also assumed I was the aggressor. Again, cultural bias. Fast forward, when I was before the prosecuting attorney of the county, he assumed again that I was the aggressor, and I wasn't. Fast forward again to the court date. Standing before the judge, and he assumed again that I was the aggressor. He had not read the paperwork before coming to court. Just naturally assumed the man is the aggressor. There is something inherently wrong with this mindset. But let me backpedal now and talk about my realization about domestic violence and how I used to look at it. It's hard to describe. I wasn't hard in my stance, but I just generically thought if a woman is in a bad situation, get the hell out. What the hell's wrong with you? Well, now I know. When Shannon used to do the things she did, I justified it. And that's the thing. The victim will justify it. I didn't even know what was domestic violence. I just thought, well, that's how Shannon is. You have to work around it. That's how she is. And when I went to report it to the sheriff's office after she injured my son, even at that moment, I did not know that I was a victim of domestic violence. I had no clue. There were some flyers there in the sheriff's office, and I started reading them. And I'll reference my paperwork now. I don't have the original flyers. But some common warning signs of domestic violence are this. If your partner feels they have the right to dictate your behavior, privileges, responses, or opinions. And that was true. She demonstrates ownership or extreme possessiveness. She blames me for her problems every day. Isolates me. Well, that was easy. She is a native of Washington. I'm not. I came here. She got pregnant. I wanted to have my child. My family is out of state. I am the only one here, and I relied completely on her and her social network But when it ended, I lost everything. She humiliates me in public, yes. Needs to constantly know your whereabouts. Oh man, that was a big thing. Work 10 minutes overtime, get sent out of town that's not normally done, and I'll hear about it. I'll get grilled about it. Insists on controlling all of the money. Yeah, that was, and I don't kid about this, that was an everyday issue. Every single day, complaining about how I don't let her have control of my money. In a previous relationship, I did that. I had a shared checking account, and I lost everything. So because of that, I consider that I learned a lesson, and I kind of fought against her having control of my money, and that was a huge point of contention. Another point, refuses to let you go to work or forces you to work. Yeah, she couldn't wait to get me out of the house. Work overtime, come home, do her bidding, and that was it. Well, here's a good one. Criticizes your appearance, weight, or clothes. There were times that I felt like a Ken doll, and she was the little girl who would dress me. The clothing that I would like to wear, that I would prefer to wear, couldn't wear. She didn't like it. If I didn't wear what she wanted me to wear in public, then again, it was arguing and a point of contention. Angers easily. Oh yeah, I mean, I felt every day I'm walking on eggshells, but it didn't matter. Just again, I didn't know. I just it was how she was. That's how she is. Okay, just deal with it, right? Becomes angry when I have a different opinion. Every day. Shows jealousy towards children, family, friends, or job. Yes, I could not make a phone call to one of my oldest friends who lives in Vancouver, Washington, without her questioning every minute that I was away from her on that phone call. Suggests reasons for you to fear ending the relationship. Yes, she would paint gloom and doom scenarios, apocalyptic scenarios, if I dare to get out of line. Oh, here's a good one. Dual personality, Jekyll and Hyde. Charming in public, aggressive in private. And here's a good point that really bothers me. And many of you know this, and many of you live this. You know the monster comes out in the dark. The monster comes out in private. She is her worst self when we are alone. And so, when I asked the court to get her a psychological assessment, it's really meaningless and fruitless, because she will put on her best face. They say you hurt the ones you love. She must have loved me a lot. But no one's going to know, no matter how I ask for her to be evaluated. You can get past that, and she has. Displays violent behavior toward other people. She didn't really do that. Disregards the law. She didn't really do that. Doesn't want you to know about the past. She did that a lot. I knew she had an ex-husband. In fact, when I started dating her, she was still married. Big red flag that if I was a younger man, I would use that as a learning point. But anyway, She wouldn't share anything about that with me. I expressed that I want to help her, that I want to be her support mechanism. No. Unilaterally denied. Blames all past relationship problems on the ex. Yes. Has a history of domestic violence. Well, the first hearing I had in court with the lawyer I hired on my last credit card for $6,000, who, by the way, told me he would work for me for 2 months for $6,000. What he did not tell me was he was on vacation for a full month of that. He gave me, in time, showing up to court for 2 hearings, unprepared. I have to meet him 10 minutes before being in court to go over paperwork because apparently he didn't care. And 2 office meetings where, again, he really didn't care. I wanted him to pursue certain aspects, and he would really just shut me up and say, look, this is how it is. You can't get any better. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. That's the lawyer that's not working for you. That's the lawyer working for himself, getting money, getting paid. Anyway, this video has ran much longer than I expected. I'm looking at 16 minutes, 45 seconds right now. So I'll end it. I thought I would be able to express my little pieces of life here in just a few short videos. It's become very apparent it's going to be a string of many videos. And if you're watching this, I thank you for watching. By the way, I think 20 minutes is the mark. You can't go over, I don't know. Again, I'm not tech savvy, I don't use YouTube. This is my second video. I'm going to save this comment for the beginning of my third. It's important. I'm going to make it right after this. Thank you for watching. Good night.